Hello, how are you? Today I'm going to talk to you about a tea that can be extremely dangerous for your liver. Many people think that teas, because they're natural, because they come from nature, they can't cause health problems for us, but that's not true. There are some plants that can be toxic to us, that can harm our bodies. It's important for us to know that. I'm also going to tell you about other teas that have a lower risk, but that you still need to pay attention to, so stay until the end because you won't want to miss it. Before we start, I want to ask you if you have a habit of drinking tea in your daily life. If there's any tea you drink more regularly, I'd love to see your comment. Remember to like the video, it really helps me out here on the channel. And share this video with anyone who drinks a lot of tea without worrying about it. Let's expand this chain of kindness. That's what I want here with the channel. If you can, go ahead and leave your like on the video. That's really important to me. It shows YouTube that you support the channel and that you trust my content. Let's start right away by talking about a tea that's quite dangerous and can pose a real risk to our liver's health, which is comfrey tea. Have you ever heard of it? In the past, it was widely used in homemade herbal infusions. It was very commonly used in the countryside of many countries. So, comfrey, unlike many other teas, doesn't require prolonged use or large doses for its consumption to be considered unsafe for the liver. In fact, it can potentially be harmful even in the short term. Comfrey contains certain specific substances, particularly alkaloids, that are not merely mildly irritating. They are directly hepatotoxic. In other words, they can cause direct damage to the liver. This happens because these compounds are absorbed in the intestine and then metabolized in the liver, where they can exert their toxic effects. They reach the liver and are metabolized by hepatic enzymes, and as a result of this process, they are converted into highly reactive metabolites that directly damage hepatocytes, the liver cells, and also injure the endothelium of the liver's blood vessels. In other words, the problem is not merely slow or cumulative, it represents a true direct chemical assault that takes place within the liver itself. And the classic pattern example of this type of injury is a very specific disease called hepatic veno-occlusive disease. In other words, the small blood vessels in our liver become inflamed, scarred, and eventually end up blocked. As a result, blood can no longer circulate properly within the liver itself. In other words, it cannot enter the liver to nourish this organ, which is so important. This can lead to an enlarged liver, intense inflammation, and even liver failure. So it doesn't depend on having fat in the liver, it doesn't depend on obesity, and it doesn't depend on any previous health problems you might have had, not even if you drink a lot of alcohol, which people usually associate with liver problems. It can actually happen in young people, people who are at a healthy weight, and healthy individuals. Unlike alcohol, medications, and other agents that are aggressive to the liver, comfrey doesn't need months or a long time to cause these injuries. There are cases described in the medical and scientific literature of just weeks of consumption, that is, a much shorter period of time, that led to these more serious problems. This sensitivity and risk will always vary according to each individual situation, their previous liver function, in other words, whether the liver was already a bit compromised or not, and the combination with other teas or medications. So this idea of I'll just take a little for a short time can be dangerous in the case of comfrey. So, comfrey has actually been restricted in several countries, both in terms of its sale and its use, because it has been shown to cause hepatotoxicity, increasing the risk of liver failure, and in severe cases, even the need for a liver transplant. This is serious. Many people continue to use it, even with these warnings from health regulatory agencies, because they buy it in bottled mixtures. It's a tradition passed down from grandmother to mother, from mother to child. So people think that because it's natural, it's safe. But like I said at the beginning of the video, not all ingredients that come from nature are safe. Poisons too can often be found in nature and are harmful to us. So we need to be extra careful when it comes to comfrey tea. From now on, I'm going to talk about other plants that require caution, but these are completely different situations, right? They're not as toxic as comfrey. One of the plants we need to be careful with when thinking about regular long-term consumption is boldo. Boldo is considered a protector of the liver when it's taken for a short period in a small dose. And it's almost a symbol of liver improvement in many countries' culture, in popular culture. But it's not that it's forbidden. The problem is when someone takes it continuously in large doses all the time. So boldo contains boldine, which is metabolized in our liver. Now, when it's used frequently in large doses and for a long time, it can lead to liver overload. So, there are reports of elevated liver enzymes and cases of drug-induced hepatitis associated with its use like it was a medicinal tea. And the situation can become even more concerning when it is combined with certain medications. So, there's a difference between one day you felt unwell, ate too much, had some boldo tea, that's fine. But now, saying something like, I'm going to make a whole bottle of boldo tea, I'm going to drink it all day long for months to heal my liver. That can harm your liver. So be very careful with the duration and the dosage of this treatment, okay? If you drink a large amount of tea per day and for a long time, it can be dangerous for you. Another tea that many people consume to improve their digestion, thinking it will help them lose weight, but which can be toxic for the liver, is Senna tea. Senna tea contains anthraquinones, which are naturally present and stimulate the intestines, but they also put a heavy demand on liver metabolism, which ends up leaving it very overloaded. So if you use it once, okay. But honestly, I wouldn't even suggest using it once. A lot of people end up becoming dependent on Senna tea just to have a bowel movement. It's very harsh on the intestines and causes diarrhea. The kind that gives you stomach cramps so bad it feels like your insides are in knots or like you're dying. Everything becomes very aggressive, overstimulated. It's a type of diarrhea that's uncontrollable, often very painful, but it does make you go to the bathroom. So many people who are constipated say, oh, I want something that will solve it today, and they take Senna tea. But you shouldn't. If we consume fiber, water, healthy fats, and do physical exercise, we can control intestinal constipation. So when a person uses it repeatedly on a daily basis, if the person is older or takes it with other medications, there can be cases of toxic hepatitis associated with prolonged use of Senna, especially for those who use it regularly, like as a detox tea. So ideally, you should never use it. If you need to use it occasionally, even then, I don't recommend it, but okay. But using it daily, absolutely not. None at all. It can be harmful to you and to your intestines as well. Another tea we need to be careful with. This time, not the natural tea itself, but the supplement made from this tea, which is often sold for weight loss or focus, is green tea supplements. In fact, I've already talked about a case here on the channel about a young man who needed a liver transplant because he was taking those green tea supplements. It's not about making tea at home and drinking 1 or 2 cups a day. It's about people who buy it in concentrated capsule form, those pressed capsules, or the ones with the chopped herb inside. They contain high doses of EGCG, which in small amounts is great for our bodies. But when the doses are very high, it can put a lot of strain on the liver's metabolism and can even cause hepatotoxicity, including these more severe cases, as I mentioned, where the person might even need a liver transplant. Why is that? Because they used it as if they were drinking 100 cups a day, right? I'm exaggerating here, but the amount would be absurd. You wouldn't be able to drink that much if you were drinking green tea. If green tea were really that harmful in its natural form, then everyone in the East, in Asia, China, Japan, Korea, they would all have liver problems. On the contrary, they don't. They drink green tea there the way we drink coffee here in the West. So the problem isn't the regular, natural use of a natural infusion, but rather these ultra-concentrated capsules aimed at weight loss or detox, which can be harmful to your liver. There are other teas like Carqueja, Baccharis trimera, and St. John's wort, which when used in concentrated form in a very large amount of it in a day and over a very long period can also cause problems for the liver. The ideal is that with all these teas, any tea at all, you should never drink them many times a day, never replace water with tea, and never drink the same tea for weeks and weeks in a row. This can be harmful to you. Always remember that the ideal is to vary, to balance things out, and if you already have any health problems or are unsure whether you should drink a certain tea, talk to your nutritionist or your doctor in your city. Remember that this video is for informational purposes only. Now tell me, have you ever tried any of these teas? Have you ever had any liver problems related to them? I hope not. I would love to see your comment. Remember to like the video, that really helps me, and share it with anyone who will like it and anyone who needs it. Let's expand this chain of kindness together. That's what I want here on the channel. See you next time. Bye.